Hello and welcome to France 24's weekly music show. I'm Marjorie Hache and I'm delighted to welcome two classical pianists. Min-Jung Kym, a British-French-Korean artist whose own battle with cancer inspired her to write a book and compile an album exploring music's therapeutic properties. She's just released a follow-up album called Sounds for the Soul 2 with cellist Robin Michael. We also welcome Eloïse Bella Kohn, who is based in Austria and made a name for herself revisiting unfinished works by the likes of Jean-Sébastien Bach. She recently released Parisienne, in which she tackles the compositions of Ravel and Massenet. Thank you both so much for joining us on Arts 24 this week. And our first question is, because you're both pianists who started playing from a very young age, and I want to know, when was that aha moment when you went, this is going to be more than just a hobby? I'm going to start off with you, Min.
Oh, goodness. I guess, in a way, the aha moment came quite later on for me because I was always immersed in a musical environment because having been at specialist music schools and then following on to go to conservatoire. But it was just at that juxtaposition, finishing your A-level studies and going on to university. And do I go on to university or do I continue with music at a conservatoire? And I guess it was at that moment I decided actually I'm going to pursue performing studies. And so I decided to continue my studies at the Royal Academy of Music and haven't looked back since, really, in a way. So I've been lucky to be continuing and playing as my profession.
Great. And Eloïse, what about you? What was your story?
I would say the moment I really realized I was going to be a professional musician was when I succeeded to the quite selective entrance exam to the Paris National Conservatory, and I was 15.
Oh, wow.
And then with time, I really realized with the piano, you are able to play such endless possibilities in terms of repertoire, in terms of settings, and it's such a privilege to be in confrontation with masterpieces every day, which doesn't mean that it's an easy life. But I would say today my motto is pressure is a privilege.
Oh, that's a good motto. Now, Min, last time we met, you had just released your book and also an album which explored how music could be an additional form of therapy alongside cancer treatment in particular. And obviously this was a success because you're back with a second offering. Can you tell us a little bit more about the reactions to this, your initial project?
Sure. Well, of course, it's a form of complementary therapy that isn't, we speak about terms of music therapy, but not necessarily how it's connected within a clinical sense with treatments for chronic illnesses, and especially cancer in my case. And so in selecting a very personal soundtrack for the first album, with the second album, I actually gave carte blanche to my participants that I interviewed, each who had their own cancer story to tell. And really, so it's a very wide selection of composers and each an individual story to tell. But the heart of it is actually the Beethoven Tempest Sonata, because why I wanted to speak about the fact that music speaks to us and the vibrations of music speaks to us right from the outset. And with that, it was dedicated to my daughter, to whom I played this piece, and her reaction was very, very violent or very active at the time, thinking that actually it was a positive reaction. But when I played it to her later, when she was a toddler, she burst into tears, saying it was too loud. And now, whether it was a reaction of some sort of memory that triggered the vibrations in the stomach at the time when she was in the womb, or whether it's just simply a child reacting to sounds, I don't know. I can't tell you, and I can't tell you today, because when I ask her today whether she likes the piece or not, she says, yes, I love it now. Yeah. But that was the idea behind the second album.
Well, how about we have a little glimpse of you performing in London. At the time, you were playing the works of Franz Schubert and Franz Liszt. pleasure of welcoming on the set of Arts 24 today. And now, in your new record, you've also got a cellist who's joined you, Robin Michael. How did this happen?
Well, Robin and I were studying together at the Royal Academy of Music. And over the years, as we all know, sort of the music circle intertwine and we lose touch, we come back together. And it so happens that he's actually also the principal cellist for Les Siècles, the orchestra based here in France. And so really with one of the pieces, I thought that it would be rather nice to have a cello and piano arrangement of a very well-known Liszt constellation. Mm-hmm. Because it just gives us a different transcription, different atmosphere when it's been transcribed and arranged for cello and piano, and so it was a nice way to coordinate that together and to re-find ourselves through music and to record it.
Well, Sounds for the Soul features music that goes from Vivaldi to Queen. Eloïse, I was wondering, who do you like listening to when you're not feeling well, or who gives you a bit of oomph to carry on?
Actually, I really love listening to the cantatas by Bach, especially in the recording by John Eliot Gardiner. I found it had a very calming effect, and even sometimes I use music as a medicine. You told it about it, and I think if I'm traveling in a very crowded or stressful place, it instantaneously calms my heartbeat, and it makes me breathe more slowly, and it helps me focusing on something sublime and elevating. It's really very helpful.
Oh, wonderful. Now, Eloïse, you like revisiting sometimes unfinished works of famous artists. And this time it's the rarely performed piano concerto by Jules Massenet and Maurice Ravel. And actually that comes at a really good time because Paris is celebrating the 150th birth of Ravel at the Philharmonie. So good timing. How about we watch a little clip of you with the Berlin Radio Symphony Orchestra and conductor Christoph Kuntz. A glimpse of what you can expect on pianist Eloïse Kohn's new album, Parisienne. Now, tell me a bit more about what drew you to Massenet and Ravel's work and the challenge of revisiting it.
So Jules Massenet is one of the most famous French opera composers. And 3 years ago, I was having a conversation with a friend who told me, maybe you should check his piano concerto. Maybe this is something for you. And I have to admit, I was a bit suspicious toward a forgotten piece, because the reflex would be to say, if it's forgotten, then it's bad or ugly or uninterested and uninteresting. And I put my hands on the keyboard for the first time, and I discovered this extremely beautiful music, which no one knows, by a very famous composer. And I was really astonished and shocked. And I knew from that moment that, in my opinion, this concerto would deserve a more central place in the concert hall repertoire. And I think for our performer, it's an important mission to give this type of work a second chance, so maybe it can have a renaissance.
It's like a new life.
And I chose it to juxtapose it with Maurice Ravel piano concerto for two hands, which is very ironical because this is maybe the most frequently performed French piano concerto of the repertoire. And there is this funny story. There was a very brief master-pupil relationship between two composers. And in 1905, Ravel made his fifth attempt to the Prix de Rome, this prize for composition competition, and he was rejected at the first round, and it made a big scandal because it seemed absurd that such a renowned composer, already with 30 years old, was rejected. And actually Massenet was in the jury at that time. So now if you compare the destiny of these both piano concerto, it's very ironic because one is very frequently performed and the other one is totally forgotten.
Oh, that's really interesting. I like the mixing as well of very famous and less known work together.
Absolutely.
It's a good juxtaposition. Anyone you fancied revisiting or re-exploring, Min?
Oh, goodness. I think there's a concerto by Scriabin that's actually lesser known as well, but has some wonderful elements to explore. So I guess, yeah, I mean, there are, compositions that come along the way. And I've also explored the repertoire of Damas, the French composer. and recorded the double concerto with the piano and trumpet with the BBC Concert Orchestra recently, which was going back, also exploring unknown or lost repertoire.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
lesser known.
Well, thank you both so much for coming on Arts 24. You've got a busy 2025 ahead with a lot of concerts, notably in Berlin for you, Eloïse, and you're working with Steinway, the very famous, prestigious piano, working on a new event. So that's fantastic. I've got one last question for you because the news is coming up fast, so we have to make room for it. How do you feel about Christmas music? I know it's a very divisive topic. Some people love it, some people hate it. Eloïse, where do you stand on?
I think there are so many beautiful examples about the unifying power of music, or music as an hymn to peace. I am not a Christian, but I really love listening to Johann Sebastian Bach, Christmas Oratorio. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you ever heard of this piece by Wagner called Siegfried Idyll. Mm-hmm. It was actually created on Christmas Day for the birthday of his wife, Cosima. Mm-hmm. And it's a year they got married, and he was very happy in his personal life, which is intertwined with his musical creation in this very intimate piece, premiere on Christmas Day of 1870. I would definitely recommend it to all music lovers.
We'll definitely go and check that out. Min, anyone that you like particularly?
Well, I would say, you don't monkey with tradition. So we're listening to traditional Christmas music. I have to say it has to be Silent Night for me. Because the significance of it was when it was a priest who looked out on the landscape one Christmas evening and saw that it was still after the war. Mm-hmm. And it was at that moment he composed the music for Silent Night. Mm-hmm. And so it's sort of a reflection on what's going on today as well, when we're in uncertain times.
100%.
We turn to music, and music can be a therapeutic aid.
Mm-hmm. Well, goosebumps. Thank you so much, both of you. We're going to finish off with a French crooner, Gaspard Wayan, who's just released a new Christmas album called All the Best for Christmas, a joyous record that features this perfect Christmas song featuring Nicole Atkins.
Come write a song together, how we both love Christmas Eve. We have to tell it our way. Let's sing something